Hello everybody. So, I'm gonna review the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I just got back from it. I saw it with Bacon. You know, I think Bacon is the designated kind of movie watch-along person lately. You know, Mario movie, Sonic movie. Luigi. You're probably wondering what I thought about the movie, and I don't know if this is out in America yet. I think it is. I think the UK was the first to get this movie released. First of all, I want to address the fact that there was no fist fighting in my movie theater like in the UK premiere. So I was a little disappointed by that, but it is just gonna be a little short review. I won't go too in-depth like I did in the Mario movie. This movie was obviously a lot for the fans, and as someone who basically just played Security Breach, you know, I kind of enjoyed Security Breach with all its ugly warts and all. It was just kind of a fun streaming experience anyway, so my lore and extensive knowledge of this whole franchise is like lacking severely. And the movie had a lot of like Easter eggs for, you know, the big fans of this, which is, you know, great. It's a love letter for them. But for me, who was just like casually played this, and I think it was sort of like just a sort of generic horror movie. It had the jump scares and it had all that stuff. But generally, I would say this: what makes a movie work is if you can relate to the characters. And the main character is called Mike. Mike's the security guard that works at, you know, the Freddy Fast Beer Pizza. You know, I'm sure the lore is on point here, where, you know, a bunch of kids went missing in the 80s, and from what I got from this, these kids are possessing the. But maybe it's failed me a little bit. So what I understood from the movie. Kids went missing in the 80s, and they are possessing these animatronics in this abandoned pizza place. And Willem Afton is the true mastermind behind it all. He's the evil controller of all this stuff. So I think that's the basics, but at the same time, they introduce some stuff from the other games, like from Security Breach. Vanessa was in it. And I recognized that character. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that character. That's the other security guard. You know, for a lot of people that are watching this is going to be very spoiler heavy. But I'm sure by the time this gets posted on YouTube, everybody's seen this. Or maybe you don't have any interest at all in seeing this and you just want to hear me talk about it. So, right off the bat, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. Mainly because at the core of this movie, it's kind of lacking a little bit. First of all, the best part of this movie is Jim Henson, Muppets guy. He didn't personally, because sadly he passed away many years ago, but his studio that makes these animatronics made them. And they look fantastic. Like, they look great. At first I was like, is that CGI? But no, they're actual physical, like, you know, props that are moving around and stuff, so they look fantastic. So if you want to see the Five Nights at Freddy's characters, you're going to get them, you know. But, so I'm just going to say this. At the core of this movie, it's about Mike the security guard, not the jabroni Mike. But he has a daughter called Abby. And Abby's a little, like, distant and stuff like that. Eventually, throughout the movie, she gets to visit his place as security guard, and she likes these characters. Not sister, sorry, I wasn't paying attention, my bad. Because that's the sister location, right, that's what it was, yeah. But there's, like, some family drama going on. And he works as a security guard at a mall. But his brother, when he was young, was snatched away by some creepy guy, which, spoilers, is Willem Afton. So when he sees this kid being, like, snatched away at the mall, he reacts immediately, he punches him, and it's like, fuck you. So he gets fired from the mall security job, and he's like, I have nowhere else to turn. I'll take on the security job working at an abandoned 80s pizza place. So he works there, and eventually he realizes something is off. And to make a long story short, he keeps having a lot of these dreams throughout the movie where he keeps having this traumatic experience of having his brothers, like, snatched away in a car. But later in his dreams, the kids in the, you know, pizza place materializes in the dreams. And he's like, wait a minute, how do you know? How can I interact with my dreams? And he realizes it's actually the ghosts of the kids. But they eventually say to him, hey, we're gonna make a deal with you. You give us Abby and we'll give your brother back. And they want to take Abby and put her into another suit, which I believe is a reference to another game, maybe the sister location thing. But there's a lot of talking in the movie, which surprised me. I was kind of more into the talking more than I was the animatronics, because I was like, okay, there's a story being built up here. But it's kind of like weak in a little way. There's a lot of like the same you know, dream repeated throughout the movie. But it's got some very cliche stuff. For example, the kids, the ghost kids in the movie, in the dream, they do the thing where they open their mouth going, ooh, and they have black eyes that is like crying blood. So that was a little corny, you know, whatever, it's movie, you know. So there's a little family drama, a lot of exposition being talked about, you know, about him not being a real, like, you know, supportive character, and he's like, oh, I've given up and everything, but he realizes that his family bond with Abby makes him a stronger character at the end, because, you know, he realizes that, you know, I have more to go for here, I have to, you know, support. He saves her from all that stuff and everything, but at the very end of the movie, again, I'm making a very short review here, William Afton shows up, and he's the yellow bunny guy, and he has the most cliche dialogue. It's basically this: I made you, and I will always come back. I am evil, and you may never defeat me. I'm like, holy shit, okay. Basically Spider-Man, I always come back. But I think it's a reference, actually. I will say this: great if you're a fan of this series. You probably will recognize a lot of the stuff, maybe some text blurbs on some ads or something like that. That was over my head, of course, but I watched this more as just like a movie. I want to see what it's all about, and it's kind of like a okay movie. It's not bad, but it's not particularly great either, if you know what I mean. The biggest laugh in this movie that I got from it is Mike, the security guard. He takes sleeping medication, so he goes to the pharmacy, and there's a guy behind the counter that's like, you know, I should have been taking these pills. You know, what works for me is a little bit of warm milk, chamomile, and honey. And as he's given this dialogue, Mike snatches the medicine and just goes away, because he's like, I don't want to hear this shit. And the pharmaceutical guy goes, what an asshole, and looks at the camera. That made me laugh. And I was like, oh shit. There's some blood in this movie, though. It wasn't like as kid friendly as you think it is, but you know, it's got mild gore. There was a point where some like thieves or robbers that was employed by a certain character, not of any importance, but she's trying to like get Abby from Mike, and she's like, I'm gonna pay you $1,000 to go smash up his place so you can get fired there as well. And once they do rob the place, that's where Foxy and Chica and Bunny and all these characters kill him. But I think one of the characters bites one of the characters, and half of the torso comes off and gets dismembered Mortal Kombat style, which was very surprising for this movie. I was like, shocking. I'm like, in this movie? You know. Now, I'm gonna get to the most important part here. These robbers, before they go on their adventure to rob the pizza place, they sit down and they order pancakes. Or they don't order pancakes. And that's when a waiter shows up. And the waiter says, you know, breakfast or lunch is the most important part of the day. But hey, looks at camera, that's just a theory, and it's fucking MatPat, and I'm not kidding. And I'm sitting next to Bacon, and I'm just like, he's in the movie, I'm not even kidding. It's a brief cameo, but it's in there. And he threw the it's just a theory line. I didn't know if I was gonna laugh or go catatonic. You know, it has got a satisfying ending, you know. Vanessa shoots William Afton and he survives, but he's in the, I think it's called the Springtrap suit. It's got like an older design, and it backfires on him, and it like punctures his own body, and he dies. But post-credit scene, he's not actually dead, or like at the very end, and he's still alive. You know, and of course, you know, Mike and Abby sit down after all is done, and she's more open, and she's more like, she says to Mike, hey, can we ever go back? And Mike looks at the camera and says, you never know. And then the credits roll, and it's the living tombstone playing over the credits. Freddy will return. One thing that was weird throughout the movie, the Five Nights at Freddy's theme, the thing, was not in it. They had to replace it with some generic, like, rimbidi bimbidi himbidi boo, ribidi bibidi bibidi boo. It was that. I'm like, what? That's not in it? Copyright issues. But that gets me to another point in the movie. The audience. I went there at a fully packed audience theater, and everybody was dressing up as their favorite characters. Masks everywhere, costumes, you know, and kudos to the fans for, you know, liking this franchise so much that they're like, you know, I'm gonna do all this stuff. And throughout the movie, I'm sitting with people going, throughout the entire thing. And it was very distracting, but also kind of like funny. But I also felt bad for the fans because that thing was not in it. It was just like, rimbidi bimbidi himbidi bim. There was no children in the audience, by the way. It was like mostly 20-year-olds to my age. I guess because, you know, when the first game came out, it was many years ago, you know. I will say this. At the end of this movie, I thought it was like, I shrugged them at like, I don't know. People clapped. People clapped like fucking crazy. They went, yeah, yeah, just fucking going mental, you know. And I'm like, what, really? For this movie? Or, you know. But I guess it was the fans. They saw some of their favorite stuff on screen. But I guess that's my review. It's very short. I don't have too much to say about it. It's just a sort of almost family drama at points with horror stuff with great looking animatronics. The animatronics look fabulous. Like, it really does look like Five Nights at Freddy's. But in a way, I was also disappointed for another thing. You know the most basic thing of Five Nights at Freddy's? Sitting in a security room, watching the monitors and seeing them like walk and come to life? Barely in it. Barely in it. There's like 2 minutes of that. Because I thought the whole movie was going to be, you know, Mike, the security guy, who's sitting and watching this and being like, what the hell, or what's going on, you know? And he's intrigued because it does happen. He's like, what the hell's going on with these things? I will say this. This is going to sound insane. Anyone here a Bionicle fan? Did you remember when Mask of Light came out in 2000? And you were watching it and you were going, this isn't really what was in my head. This isn't really what's represented. That's the same feeling here. And that's coming from somebody who's not into this franchise that much. It's just kind of like, what? Huh? But I kind of like Mask of Light. It's Lord of the Rings with Bionicle, but I kind of watch it for the wrong purpose. You know, it's definitely not no Super Mario Bros. 93. It's not that incorrect. You still get the animatronics, and what I believe is the lore of the games. I cannot confirm that because, again, I am not a true fan in that regard. I played Security Breach once again, and I liked it. It's my favorite of all these games, actually. But overall, I would say this. If you're a fan of this, and you want to go to a night movie with a bunch of other fans, go for it. You'll have a good time. There's scares in the movie. There's a little bit of gore. You know, if you want to watch just a silly little horror PG-13 movie, this is your jam, I guess. But I will say this movie started really slow. I think it was like 30 minutes until something happened. Otherwise, it was Mike and Abby just going, I don't know if I could take care of my daughter, man. And Abby's going, I don't like pancakes. Basically, she didn't actually say that, but basically that. But eventually, like, Five Nights at Freddy, you know. You gotta have exposition. I understand that. That's how to build up something. Because I don't think 1 hour and 20 minutes was... sorry, Abby is his sister. I keep forgetting. I I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. My bad. Joel missed the first 20 minutes. Did it suck? Joel, I missed... It didn't suck, but it wasn't no Mario movie. Because I felt the Mario movie was like, I'm watching a goddamn Mario movie. And I think it's also very subjective, depending on if you're into this franchise at all. I don't have much to say about it. I watched this out of a pure curiosity, because it is a video game movie after all, and, you know, I play video games. But what got me through this movie most of the time was leaning over to Bacon and riffing on the movie. There was one point where they were cooking bacon, and I leaned over to Bacon and said, you're in this movie too. But I did not scream zumbo sauce throughout the movie. I was an annoyance. I didn't want to ruin other people's experience. But I sort of forgot how annoying it is to watch movies with other people. Mainly because everybody went, oh my god. When like Bonnie and Chica was on screen, and they're like, holy shit. Oh my god, like loud gasps. Like they were like ecstatic, which I understand that, you know, if they're a fan, they're like, holy shit, you know. But it was very like obvious stuff, and they kept like saying like, yo, behind you, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, and I had a bad audience experience. No, it wasn't a bad audience experience, but it's more so like I wanted everybody to just shut up, you know. Only I can riff on the movie. Chica, watch out. But I'm basically gonna end the stream here and just say this. I thought it was like a strong 5 out of 10. I didn't particularly love it. I didn't particularly hate it. I thought it was just great looking animatronics from Jim Henson's production studio. The acting was fine. I just felt that the story was a little weak. And I understand there was a lot of exposition to establish the characters. But I thought it could have been done in a better way than just people talking to each other in an open field or inside offices. Production value was great, looked great, and I'm sure this is very like, this is Five Nights at Freddy's, unless people don't feel that way, because I can't really vouch for that. But, you know, any questions before I leave off and prepare for 70s Spooky Games in the morning? Will I play the Security Breach DLC? Oh, well, I'm obligated to do now. What's next for the movie? I had nothing. I had a large Sprite. I didn't want to feel ill or nauseous watching Five Nights at Freddy's, so I had nothing. Nothing at all. Well, you see the Ban Ban movie. You got it. Which one was your favorite Freddy? Probably Freddy himself, because I recognize him the most. Scary Blue, Opila Bode. Did I miss the review? You pretty much did, yeah. Again, strong 5 out of 10. Didn't hate it. Didn't particularly love it. I mean, I was okay with it, but I didn't particularly... I'm not gonna think about this movie. I guess 5 Nights at Freddy's, right? You know, I laughed, I cried, I stood up, and I had to take out a Blowdart and go thunk in my neck, because I just kept going, Freddy, 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 Freddy. I was going into like a catatonic possession, and I felt like one of the ghost kids was possessing me. But it was actually his diarrhea. Do you think the sequel could be good? Don't know if it needs to be told. I felt this was this, you know. Should I watch 4 nights before this one? I feel like a sequel was in it like 10 times. Okay, here's what I want to ask. Who here has seen this movie? Not me, not me. Some people have seen it yet. What did you think of the movie? I want to hear your opinion. Someone said, I'll pirate it. Someone said, I hated it. I thought it was fine. A 7 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, but I loved it. 4 out of 10. I think it was good, 7 out of 10. 3 out of 10. Somebody said, what in this movie did you like besides the Jim Henson animatronics? I think that the sound design sometimes was a little like stock, but I think how it was woven in with the performances of the animatronics was kind of fun. I kind of liked the songs they did. They also had Real Wild One, and I like that because I'm cheap. I'm cheap and I like callbacks to songs. Real Wild One. So I like the sound design, and again, the production looked great. And I kind of liked Mike, actually. I like Mike. I think, he went from being very callous and not giving a shit, and at the end of the movie, he kind of bonds with his sister, and, they become better friends. And that was a satisfying ending, So, at least that was good. I kind of liked Mike. I didn't like Vanessa that much. She felt just kind of like she showed up. And I gotta ask you guys, is it established in lore that William Afton is Vanessa's dad? Or is that something they just made up for the movie? No. No, because they pulled that out of their ass in the movie, apparently. Because there's a dialogue where Mike goes like, how do you know all about these kids missing? Why didn't you tell me? And she goes, because he's my dad. Looks at camera. I'm like, oh, it's a complicated answer. How many times did they look at the camera? Never. I'm just being a hyperbolic fuck. How was William Afton in the movie? He was the Green Goblin. He shows up at the very end. It's like, it was me, Mike. I was behind it all. And I will always come back. So I don't know if that was good or not, but I kind of liked it because it was so cliche. It was me, Austin. In the games, Mike is actually William Afton's son. I did not know that. Listen, I know, I'm sorry that people probably wanted me to react to this and say this was the worst movie ever, or this was the best movie ever. And I'm just kind of in the middle of it. I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's just a okay, PG-13 horror movie with a lot of, fan service. That's great. I don't think I connected on it on an emotional level. Not that you probably should have a connection to Five Nights at Freddy's where you're crying at the end of the scenes. For what it was worth, it was, I kind of enjoyed it, but not like loved it. It was just kind of, Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't know. Someone said the move was unbearable. Was it Tornado Twister? That's another point I wanna... This has nothing to do with the movie. But when I was a kid, I remember movie theaters being incredibly loud. But nowadays, they're not loud at all. They're very gentle on the ears, which I really appreciated. But when I was a kid, a car scene where they're driving in an explosion, you'd go deaf. You'd go deaf. Nowadays, it's like way better. And I appreciate that because honestly, I was afraid that because I don't see a lot of horror movies in the audience. And I was worried that the jump scares was gonna actually scare me so much that I was gonna get tinnitus, okay? Like I was actually worried for my actual physical health, you know? That's just the 20 years of metal music, Joel. I guess it depends on the movie theater too. I guess if you're seeing something in IMAX. I remember crying in the movie theater as a child because it was so loud. I remember the Hulk movie gave me a headache from how fucking loud the fight scenes were. I got jump scared by Batman v Superman. But guys, final thoughts about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Completely okay horror movie. If you're a fan, you'll enjoy this lots. I guess it was very nice to see some like practical effects. Someone said this movie was better than Citizen Kane with a C. But you know what? I think if you have no interest in watching in the theaters, you can probably get it on a streaming service and you'll probably have a lot of fun with it. Stream it on Discord with your friends and have a laugh. Have a laugh at Willem Afton acting like the Green Goblin, and have a big laugh at the guy at the pharmaceutical office saying, that guy's an asshole. That made me laugh. You know, it's on Peacock right now. Well, there you go. You'll really enjoy the animatronics. I think they did them a great justice. So, yeah. It was a movie. But I sincerely hope after this whole thing is done, I would love to see a video game based off this. Now I know what you're saying, you jackass. No, Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, the game. The only thing that was disappointing in this movie that really pissed me off, MatPat was in it. Where the hell is PevDP, Jacksepticeye, and the Markiplier? But then I remembered that Markiplier is busy in the Iron Lung movie, which I don't know how they're gonna make a hour and 30 minutes long movie out of that, but hey, I'll see it. I might enjoy that more than I do this because I think that they're gonna ad-lib so much of the story anyway that what we'll get is so estranged from its original source that I'm gonna be like, you know what, fuck it, go for it. What cheap-ass video game adaptation would you want to be in? Joe's House. I will play The Pie. Guys, I've taken enough of your time. I'm gonna go now, get some sleep. I'll see you in the morning, and I can tell you what it is already. We're doing some Yuminiki fan games for the next installment of not Five Nights at Freddy's, 7 Days of Spooky Games in the morning. For now though, guys, if this was a Roger Ebert thumbs down, up down, or whatever it's called, I would be doing jazz hands for me. You know, listen, you'll have a good time on Discord streaming this with your friends. That's all I'm gonna say. Or you might hate it and have a good time watching it. Because after all, it's Five Nights at Freddy's. So, thank you so much for watching my review. Take care, stay safe. Don't forget to wipe your seats once you're done watching the movie. And make sure to watch out for sticky floors. Because when that golden Freddy on screen, fire exhaust semen. Smen came out. Smen came out. I shidded, I farted, I pissed in the sink. All for Freddy. Good night, guys. Have a good one. I'm gonna see us live right now, so I'm gonna go host them.
But the one thing they love more than a hero.